All right. What's going on, Los Angeles? What's going on, LA football fans, specifically Rams fans and Chargers fans? We're going to get into that later in the show. Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Ryan Dyrud. This is the LA Football Show. We've changed the format going live at 5, but the Rams played it at 5:20. Makes no sense going live at 5, 20 minutes before kickoff. So here we are live now. And man, some more bad news breaks for our Rams, which we're going to get all into right before kickoff. I'll break it down, but essentially Jalen Ramsey, star corner, and Tyler Higbee, starting tight end, have been placed on the COVID list, and they are out for tonight. So that puts them with Rob Havenstein, starting right tackle, and Dante Dion, who has been starting or at least playing a lot of snaps at corner on that list as well. So growing list, and what that means for the Rams is they play the number one team in the NFL in the desert in prime time. Not great news. Not great news, but not all is lost. We'll get into it all. So, yeah, happy you guys are here. Excited to talk about this game. Excited later in the show, we'll talk about the Chargers' big win over the Giants. So if there's any Chargers fans in here listening, we will get to that later. And that amazing Justin Herbert throw and all that. So, yeah, let me know what you guys are thinking. Let me know in the chat how you're feeling about this game, how you were feeling maybe 15 minutes ago, and how you're feeling now with this new news. Because I was going to really get into some good matchups and some good keys to victory for this Rams team, but now it's kind of shifted, and I'm gonna have to kind of think on the fly because this changes a lot. Because not only do you lose, depth, but you lose your literally two key starters. I mean, Jalen Ramsey's obviously the second best, or you could argue the most important player on that defense. But Tyler Higbee is very important in the offense, and I know he's had some drops this season. But overall, he's an integral part of what they want to do on offense, and they're already shorthanded at tight end, with already some injuries stacking up there. So who will we see get those reps? Like, is it going to be Kendall Blanton? Are we going to see finally Bryson Hopkins, and maybe he'll shock the world and come out blazing? I mean, it's very interesting what they'll do. I know on the depth chart, Blanton's 2 and Hopkins is 3, and that's literally it. It came out. Let me pull it up here. Who some guys they pulled up for this game off the practice squad and made active. Justin Hollins is activated though, so that's good news. He doesn't play corner, but a good key contributor that has had a very good season. Now you're able to add him back onto the roster, and I don't know how many snaps he'll get, but he has been activated, so that's some good news. And yeah, Common here. What's up, brother? Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you guys. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. We're going to have to see guys step up. And AD, I think, needs to have a monster game regardless. When he has a big game, regardless, this team has a shot to win, no matter what's going on. If AD plays to the AD level, AD being Aaron Donald, that is, then this team has a shot to win and beat anybody because he can just take over games. That's how good he is. But if Von Miller can contribute in a big way, if Leonard Floyd can contribute in a big way, if Greg Gaines can contribute in a big way and kind of take the pressure off of that secondary, which is going to be very shorthanded, that's going to be, crucial. So really looking at this defensive line and what they're able to do into this and kind of what they can establish themselves against a decent offensive line, but they look better because of who plays quarterback in Kyler Murray. He's going to make any offensive line certainly look better. So, yeah, quick, I got to tell you guys about our newest sponsor, TickPick. If you guys are out buying tickets, you got to be doing it at TickPick. It's tickpick.com/LAFB. Zero seller fees or buyer fees. Excuse me. I mean, I think there's zero fees, period. But, when you go to StubHub or Ticketmaster, you always get, hit with those $40 fees at checkout. TickPick.com/LAFB. Zero fees all the time. So the price you see in that marketplace is the price you pay. So for next week's game, or, if you're going to a concert, show, anything like that, they have it all there. So make sure to check out our friends at tickpick.com/LAFB. All right. Got that out of the way. To the guys that I mentioned activated, and great question here again. Is it Pio time? Am I saying that right? but I'll show that in a second. We'll get to Cooper Kupp in a second. So activated. Here's who you have from practice squad. Defensive back, Grant Haley. Running back, Javian Hawkins. Defensive back, Kareem Orr. Tight end, Jared Pickney. Wide receiver, Brandon Powell. And guard, Jeremiah Colonna. So, how do you guys feel about those names? I will say this. Kareem Orr had a phenomenal training camp. Ryan Anderson, our beat writer for the Rams. I'm sure he'll comment on this, and I'll have him give a shout out to him on Twitter. But he was huge on Kareem Orr because Kareem Orr had a great training camp. One of those guys that we knew basically this guy's going to be, as long as he clears waivers, like they just didn't have the space for him on the active roster. But as long as he clears waivers, he's a practice squad guy because of how good he played. So I'm excited to see his opportunity. I mean, this is when unknowns are born. Kurt Warner, the new movie, American Underdog, coming out Christmas Day in 12 days? This is how payo time. Okay, sorry. I was doing the Spanish payo. Payo time. Okay, yeah, we'll get to that cup question in a second. But this is when stars can be created, not born, created. Kurt Warner is bagging groceries, got seen in the Arena League, gets a call from the Rams, who were in St. Louis at the time, comes, tries out for the team. He ends up making the squad. And then, injury happens to the quarterback position in Trent Green, and insert Kurt Warner. No one's heard of him. Everyone thought the season was lost. Dick Vermeil said, we're putting our faith in Kurt Warner. Rest is history. We all know how that story ends. Him leading, the greatest show on turf, ends up in the Hall of Fame, 2-time MVP, Super Bowl champion. So I'm not trying to sit here and say Kareem Orr is going to be that, but this is the opportunity when you can establish yourself in the league and make a name for yourself. And this is a game they have to do it because I had Darren Urban, the team reporter for the Cardinals, on earlier in the week. If you want to check that episode out before game time, he gives a great breakdown of kind of who this Cardinals team is. For those of you that don't know who their strengths are, their weaknesses, all that. But what scares me, and this was before Jalen Ramsey was out, is you have DeAndre Hopkins, who's back and healthy. I mean, I'm not even going to get into the other part of the receiving corps. You have DeAndre Hopkins, and then you have, at tight end, who they just traded for out of Philadelphia. And, why am I all of a sudden drawing a blank on it? Zach Ertz. There we go. The Rams haven't had to play like a very dynamic tight end other than George Kittle, which he wasn't even really used against them. It was the Debo Samuel and the running game show when they played the Niners. So this is a game where I am concerned with Jalen Ramsey because he can't cover two guys. So if you would assume he would have been on DeAndre Hopkins, and it's like, okay, who's going to slow down Zach Ertz, who, has kind of rejuvenated his career a little bit here in Arizona. Well, now you have no Jalen Ramsey either. So you have arguably the best receiver in the game and still probably a top 5 receiving tight end in the game in Zach Ertz. So this is a point where, are we going to see a safety step up? Are we going to finally see Terrell Burgess on the field? I mean, Terrell Burgess, who we've been pounding the table for to play, now he has an opportunity. Just because of guys going down and guys going on COVID lists. So I think we'll see Terrell Burgess finally. And hopefully we can all see what we all think. And then he'll prove to the coaching staff he needs to be on the field more. But will he be on Ertz? Will he be playing that nickel, that star position, that money position? I don't know. That's going to be what's kind of interesting to watch this unfold. I think this is where I know there's a lot of fans out there saying, okay, let's just prepare for next week. But these are the kind of games that can excite me. Because like I mentioned, it's where stars can be created. I mean, Darius Williams was a relative unknown last year. And all of a sudden he, against Seattle made some great plays. And it's like, wow, now all of a sudden we see this star in the rising. Going into last season, everyone was very concerned that our starters were Troy Hill and Darius Williams, if you remember. Let's not forget that. At training camp last year, there was a lot of concern around this Rams team that we had Ramsey and 2 guys that, were castaways from their teams. All these guys in the league have talent, not to the level of Jalen Ramsey, but they're in the league for a reason. So now it's time to see. Here you go, Reginald. What's up, man? How you doing, man? Thanks for jumping in here. But yeah, breakout game for Burgess, like I just said. So I think this is a huge opportunity for him to finally get reps, prove that he deserves them on the field. It still is something that I do not understand. And, I would love to sit down with Raheem Morris and just ask him, like, what are you seeing in camp? Is he not fully healthy and we just don't know that? Is he not picking up your schemes? Are the other guys just flat out playing better? Because based on what we saw Burgess do last year in his time before he got hurt, he should be a starter, I think, on this defense and use Rapp in a different role, closer to the line of scrimmage as that kind of third safety that rotates in. But I would have preferred to see Burgess and Fuller as your two starting back ends. So, but we'll see. And yeah, but you've mentioned it. Taylor Rapp has played well against the Cardinals, has played real well. So, we'll see what they do and what kind of shiftiness they do. And it's going to be but like I said, I'm very excited just to see. This is where your coaching earns their salt. And I've been very public about my thoughts on Sean McVay, who I think he's a top 5 coach. I think, yes, they've played poorly. They had a 3-game stretch. They haven't beaten many great teams this season. He's gotten away from the running game. He's had some poor play calling. But if anyone out there that's growing sour on McVay, you've become spoiled as a fan, if I can just say it politely, because I don't think you know how good you have it. Look around the league. I mean, coming into this year, and I'm getting off track here, but we'll just go down this road real quickly. Coming into this year, we did it on this show, during training camp, we did like a top 12 coaching rankings. And myself and the guy who I had on, my buddy Talon, both had Kevin Stefanski in that list, Browns head coach. Both had Sean McDermott, Bills head coach, in that list. And I'm not saying now they don't deserve to be, but look at their teams. They're both sitting at 7-6. The Bills lost to the Jaguars. They both have first-round quarterbacks, great running games, tremendous defenses. I mean, those rosters are stacked. And they're both sitting at 7-6. It's damn hard to win in this league and to do it consistently. So anyone sitting there that is that fed up with Sean McVay that you're seriously suggesting him on a burning hot seat or ready to move on, then you've just become spoiled as a fan. That's all that means. Because you're not going to get much better than Sean McVay, who has yet to have a losing season as a head coach in this league, which is extremely hard to win consistently. So get that out of the way. I just want to at least make that point because I just think it's unfair. Now, Raheem Morris, I understand a little bit more of the sentiment because it's been an up and down defensive season. And the things we just talked about not seeing Taylor Rapp out on the field, not seeing Terrell Burgess out on the field, seeing different sets that just don't make a lot of sense, having games where Ramsey doesn't follow the number 1 receiver when why not? Just have him, wide on Rice, follow that guy and shut him down. So that I get the frustration. I think it's higher than it needs to be because this defense overall has still been like a top 10 unit. Yes, they're not as good as the Brandon Staley unit, but they also lost four key contributors. So that's a big deal. You're going from Darius Williams being a powerful third role player to being the guy outside of Jalen Ramsey. But now this game is where we will see this coaching staff, and it's quick. I mean, Havenstein and Dion ended up on the list, I think, just 2 days ago. And then now, literally, I've been live for 30 minutes ago is when we got the news about Jalen Ramsey and Tyler Higbee. So now it's going to be quick, but to see how this coaching staff reacts and how they put their players in a position to still be successful and who we're going to see on that back end. If we will see one of these practice guys literally starting for Jalen Ramsey. You'll have Darius Williams out there, and we have David Long Jr. Remember, Robert Shell's on IR, so he's unavailable also. So your starters right now, based on the depth chart, will be Darius Williams and David Long Jr. going up against a pretty damn good receiving core, probably top 5 in the league from top to bottom. You still have, you have 6 safeties on the roster. So I would assume we're going to see a lot of safety play. And then you pulled up guys that I mentioned. Like, I think Kareem Moore will absolutely get reps. But I would rather see Terrell Burgess, Nick Scott, who's actually got a lot of playing time. I would not be opposed to seeing 4 safety sets out there. I know that's bizarre, but I think that's what we're going to see some. I mean, would you rather have an active safety that's been on the roster all season or a guy that's been on the practice squad, but he plays corner? I've said in previous shows, and this is more so with Brandon Staley's style of coaching and defense, but I think it can be in this Raheem Morris scheme too, because he did adopt a lot of Staley's schemes. In this specific scheme, you don't have safeties and corners per se. You have defensive backs because they need to be able to do a little bit of everything. And we've seen Jalen Ramsey line up deep some games. So that makes me a little less concerned talking more about it because you have 6 safeties that have been active on the roster all season long. Juju Hughes is one of those guys as well, who had a great, off-season program, training camp, preseason. So I love Kareem Moore. I love what he did in camp. I think it's a day he could make a name for himself, but I'd feel more confident seeing Fuller, Rapp, Burgess, Hughes, Nick Scott, them all out there with Darius Williams and still keep David Long kind of in his role that he's been in and not force him all of a sudden to be either on DeAndre Hopkins or Christian Kirk. So what I would like to see, and I'll just say this and then we'll move on past the defense. Got some other good questions here. I want to get to Cooper Kupp. Payo time talking about time of possession, run game, extremely important. We're going to get to that in a minute. But what I would like to see, I want to see Terrell Burgess on Zach Ertz. I don't think they'll do that. I don't think this scheme permits them to just have someone shadow, specifically a tight end. But Zach Ertz is the guy I'm circling this game that concerns me the most. Just because the Rams haven't really had to face quality tight ends. Like I said, other than George Kittle, but he wasn't a factor in that game. It wasn't his show. So I don't know if they'll have Darius Williams on DeAndre Hopkins. I don't think they should necessarily follow him around, but they could. But I want to see Terrell Burgess on Zach Ertz. If you're going to finally give the guy playing time, let's just throw him in the deep end and say, shut down this tight end. And then you have Darius Williams, David Long Jr., Fuller's your deep guy. Taylor Rapp's playing kind of against the run, close line of scrimmage. And then we could, rotate a Nick Scott in there as well. Because Nick Scott's played well when needed as a safety. So if you have Taylor Rapp close, you have Burgess. I mean, that's 4 safeties you have on the field, technically. But I like that better than throwing out 2 different practice squad guys out there. So we'll see. We will see. It's going to be interesting. I will update you if I hear anything, guys, before kickoff. We're still, 4 hours? 4 hours exactly. 1:21 right now. 4 hours exactly from kickoff. And it's going to be interesting. I'm still excited for the game. I saw a comment in here earlier about, this day seems like it's going by so slow. And yeah, I agree with you. It's dragging by these primetime Monday night games. Like at least Sunday night games, you still have all other football to kind of keep your mind off it. But Monday, typically people are back at work and you're just sitting at your desk or whatever you do and just thinking about 520. And it can't get here soon enough. And then you get this news drop on you. Not ideal. Not ideal. Yeah, guys, keep dropping any questions you have. Well, let's move over to offense for now. Maybe we'll wrap up with some defensive line stuff, but I think we just need to see him have a great game. I want to see Von Miller have a solid game. And he's been better last week. I know he didn't show up really in the stat sheet, but he got pressures in there. He was, funneling running backs because he's very good against the run. So forcing running backs to funnel inside. So, big game from him. Leonard Floyd, I think, has played great all year. He hasn't really been talked about a lot. He's been talked about, I think, among Rams fans, but not a lot nationally at all. And he's putting together quietly a very good season. A very good season. So if he can continue that. And then the last thing I'll mention, the interesting thing is going to be that inside linebacking unit. And I think we saw Ernest Jones kind of seize the role as the guy, which is what we wanted. Great. We allocated a draft pick on him. We knew what he could do as kind of that GPS of the football kind of guy. We knew his struggle was against the pass and coverage. But if you're utilizing 3 or 4 safeties or having, 6 defensive backs out there, then you don't necessarily need him to do that. Like, I don't want Ernest Jones shadowing Zach Ertz. That's where I'll say, Raheem Morris, what are you doing? That's not what he's built to do. There's nothing against him. That's just not his skill set. I'm not an accountant. Don't have me do your taxes. They'll be terrible. Put him in a position to succeed. And I think we saw last week, again, it's against Jacksonville, but it's still an NFL game, and it's where you can kind of tinker with things. And we saw them run 1 linebacker sets a lot, which I personally love the way this defense is built. You're top heavy on the back end and safeties talent. your, I don't necessarily want to say a full liability, but your weakest unit is the inside backing unit. So why force two out there every play? If you can utilize more defense backs, have one guy that kind of runs it like Ernest Jones did. You know, I know there's a lot of hate for Troy Reader, but against the run, he is solid against the run. Just don't have him cover DeAndre Hopkins. Don't have him out there on Devontae Adams. It's not going to work. So I want to see a lot of one linebacker sets. I do. I like that a lot. Kind of like a 4-1-6 scheme, if you will. It's different, but I think that's where, with the injuries, with the COVID stuff, where this team is to be. And then you can get Justin Holland slowly on some NASCAR packages. And, if you can get some third and long situations, play well on first and second down, and you're able to have Justin Hollins, Leonard Floyd, Von Miller, Aaron Donald out there on third and long getting after Kyler Murray, then this could be an okay game still. And we could make it through. But in order to do that as well, flip side, like you're saying, Payo time, Rams going to be able to run the ball on offense. Because you need to keep the Arizona offense off the field, who can score in a hurry if they need to. You need to control the line of scrimmage and control time of possession. And you do that hat on a hat, get in the trenches, and run the damn ball. We don't need to see the Matthew Stafford show. If he goes 21 for 28 for 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, love it. Love it. Now, if they get behind, obviously we're going to need to air it out, and I want to see some more success from that. But with Sony Michel, who it's his show right now, Hendo's out again, we're going to have to see Sony really take the rock well. And with Rob Havenstein out, I would expect to see Joe Noteboom starting on the right side. I know there's been talk about perhaps being Bobby Evans. I think it'll be Noteboom, who I think has played better, in varied rotations throughout the season and in preseason. But it's a loss losing Havenstein, but I think Noteboom's played well when he's needed to. He may not be a world beater starter, but in time that he's had to come in and play, I think he's shown up well. I mean, last year when Big Whit went down, I thought he played pretty well. He's not as good as Big Whit, who is. Happy belated birthday, by the way. Turned 40 yesterday. NFL record for a starting tackle in the league when he starts tonight. But yeah, I think Joe Noteboom, I think they'll play well. Coleman Shelton at center, who I thought played pretty well last week. He'll go up against a pretty formidable defensive front in Arizona. They've got some good guys. That front seven is no joke. This defense is playing a lot better than it has in years past. I mean, give Vance Joseph a lot of credit, which he's been able to do with this defense. But, Corey Peters, longtime Charger, is playing well. You obviously their strength is on the edges with Chandler Jones and Marcus Golden and I mean, those are some great edge rushers, which is where we'll see Noteboom and Andrew Witt gain their salt, But yeah, I think Noteboom can be trusted. Payo time. I think he can. So, Julio, what's up, man? Thanks for joining the show. Don't think this is a Super Bowl team. It's been a sentiment I've seen from a lot of fans. And I would say this. This is a Super Bowl team. It is. They have the roster. They have the coaching staff to do it. They have the quarterback. I truly believe that. But they have to play like a Super Bowl team. And I know that sounds cliche to say. Based on the 3 weeks prior to last week, they were not playing like a Super Bowl team. Absolutely not. But through 12 weeks of last season, the Buccaneers were not a Super Bowl team. This league has proven time and time again, it's all about getting hot when it means the most. And if come Christmas, the Rams have rattled off 3 straight wins. They beat the Niners on, I think they played January 2nd, or is it the week after? I think the last game of the season. In week 18, they beat the Niners, going into the playoffs with like 5 straight wins. I think, then, yeah, they are Super Bowl teams. So they have the pieces. Hey, time if you're heading out here, appreciate you. Thanks for all the comments and questions. Enjoy the game. Horns up. But they have the pieces. They have the coaching staff. They have the talent. It's just putting it all together. So, this is still currently a playoff team. They need to do some things differently to be a Super Bowl team, Julio. Absolutely. But I wouldn't be down and out on them because of 3 bad weeks. It's a week-to-week league. Week-to-week league. I mean, who would have said 5 weeks into the season that we could see a Chiefs-Patriots AFC Championship game? 5 weeks in, the Chiefs were like 1-4, and the Patriots, I think, were like 2-3. Now those are the 2 best teams in the AFC, clearly. So things can shift very quickly. And now this game would be a great sentiment because I know we need to see a signature win, especially in division. But, I think they can be. They absolutely can be. So, what's up, Benjamin? Thank you. Thank you. Coverage of both teams. Yeah, it's fun. I appreciate you guys for being willing to listen to both. I know there's so many, Rams-centric shows out there, Chargers-centric shows. I just wanted to bring it all LA together. And it's a rivalry, which I love. I know Rams fans and Chargers fans, you see yourself as a rival, as you should. It's an inner-city rivalry, like Dodgers-Angels, like Kings-Ducks. It makes it fun, but at least you can come to one place to get all the information. And I appreciate you for tuning in. So let me back up a little bit here. Reginald, get this question in. Essentially, we're in the playoffs now. First playoff game. Ravens and 49ers to follow. Playoffs start tonight. Perfect time to establish that run. I wouldn't disagree with that. I mean, obviously, I think this team, unless they just lose like 4 straight, I think they're in the playoffs regardless if they don't win tonight. But if you treat these games like a playoff game, I think it bodes well. Look at the Seahawks. As soon as they went into win, they were basically eliminated, not mathematically, but now they've rattled off a couple good wins. Beating the Niners, winning yesterday, pretty big. So when you get that mindset, I think that this is playoffs and, there's a little more urgency there and then we could see some good things. So it just is a bummer with the 4 big names out on the COVID list. And this comes as a playoff game. But yeah, the Ravens game is going to be good. Ravens, are banged up now too. I think it's starting to show the lack of running back is starting to hurt them more. And with Lamar Jackson now, ankle sprain, I believe was the report today from Coach Harbaugh. With the style of play he is, it's not a break or a tear, so he will be back, but that's not an injury you just get over. Like, that makes him very one-dimensional if you have a bum ankle. So never root for an injury, but that could pay dividends for the Rams if they play him and he's either out and they're playing Tyler Huntley, or if he's in but just immobile, essentially, is a big deal. So, and then you get the Seahawks next week, get the Niners, last game of the season. We get the Vikings still, and the Vikings are a good team. Records up and down, but that's a tough squad. It's going to be a tough game. Going to be a tough game for sure. Julio, you're absolutely. It's been a very up and down season. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. You talk to, and I bring this up sometimes, but you talk to Bronco fans, and you would think the Broncos have won 1 game. They cannot wait to fire everybody. Ready for whether it's Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, or draft a quarterback. They're 7-6, have the same record as the Browns, the Bills, like all these playoff contending teams. That's just the way the NFL has been. 1 week, everyone is super high on their team. The next week, they're down and out and ready to fire everybody. So Rams fans listening, I'm just telling you, you don't have to listen to me, but I'm telling you, you have it pretty damn good with Sean McVay and the staff. Even Raheem Morris. He has deficiencies, has stuff he needs to get better at. But I bet you would just watch some other games. You would take Raheem Morris to some of the other coordinators out there defensively. So, last kind of thing about this game, and then I'll get into the big Chargers win. Cooper Kupp putting together one of the best offensive receiving performances ever. For sure in franchise history, even in NFL history. The dude especially he's the best receiver in the game right now. I have no shame saying it. I know the talk in the beginning of the year was, is he top 5? Right now, because otherwise, what are we basing these rankings on? If we're basing it purely on size and speed and, those intangibles that you're born with, then yeah, he's not number 1. Then sure, we can give it to, Hopkins or DK Metcalf or even AJ Brown, or I wouldn't even say Julio anymore just because he's been so banged up and hasn't really done much this year. Mike Evans. Did I say Devontae Adams? I don't know if I did, but for sure him. But that's a silly metric to base it on because it's about who's producing. Who's producing? Right now, Cooper Kupp is the most productive receiver in the game. Devontae Adams, a very close second. Now, if someone is starting a team tomorrow, I think it would probably be rare. I think probably all 32 GMs would take Devontae Adams 1, Cooper Kupp probably 2 or 3. You're doing a Justin Jefferson. Because usually when you're drafting, you're basing off a lot of those intangibles. So I get it. But why wouldn't you take Cooper Kupp? All the guy does is produce. You go down Robert Woods, you add OBJ, who's still learning the system, still produces, still gets double-digit catches for 150 yards. So he's going to be another key factor in this game. Establishing the run, getting Sony Michel going. Obviously, that's important. But when the going gets tough, which it probably will, away game, prime time, number 1 team in the NFL, the going's going to get tough. There's going to be a time, most likely, when the Rams are down in this game, which is something they need to prove they can come back from. So to the point, Julio, about are they a Super Bowl team? That's something they have to be able to prove they can overcome. Is if they get behind, how do they come back? How do they respond? And the biggest key player in that, outside of Matthew Stafford, is Cooper Kupp. Because if Stafford can know, I got my security blanket here, no Tyler Higbee. So my security blanket is literally only Cooper Kupp. If he rises up to that and expounds that challenge, then I think the Rams will come out on top of this game. With these injuries, I don't know, do you call COVID injury? I don't know if you call it an injury, but with these what other word, scratches, or with these guys being out, if I can speak, with these guys being out and make it tough, I still do like the Rams in this game. And it's because they have more to lose. They have more to prove, more to lose. Now, Arizona played very well in that week 3 matchup. They ran the ball extremely efficiently. I mean, they didn't even really need Kyler Murray to be Kyler Murray at all. So that's why I mentioned it's going to be big on this defensive line to establish themselves, stop the run. And then the offense just needs to play mistake-free football. Fans, you need to temper expectations. If they may not light it up, they may have some drives stalled. They may have some 3-and-outs. But if they don't make the big mistake, the pick six, the fumble when you're driving, missed field goals, if they just play a clean football game, and clean does not mean some 3-and-outs. They're going to be probably some 3-and-outs. But if they can play a clean game, I like their chances because I think they have more to prove, more to lose. And I think with these guys being out, it's even a better way for them to say, look, we are for real. We're missing 4 starters, and we still beat the best team in the NFL on their turf. 4 starters on COVID. I mean, they're missing other starters too, but you know what I mean. It's going to be a great game. It's going to be a great game. So stay tuned all afternoon. I can't wait to hang out with you guys. Let's chat during the game as well. You can find me on Twitter at Ryan Dyrud, LAFB. Yeah, would love to talk with you and kind of get your thoughts. And hopefully it's a good one. Last primetime game, not so good. Not so good. So hopefully tonight we can have a little more fun. If you're betting on the game, you got to go to my friends at MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Use our promo code LAFB. It's going to double your deposit. Telling you, I feel good about these Rams, but I don't know. Let's see what that what's the line get up to. I'm assuming it had to have shifted with the announcement of these guys being out. So let's see here. Bear with me for a second. So yeah, mybookie.ag, promo code LAFB, double your deposit. So it's at, the Rams are 2.5-point dogs. I would have thought that would have probably gone up a little more with these recent. Maybe they haven't updated it yet. Maybe they will before the game time. So maybe you want to wait till right before kickoff, see if they push it to 3.5 or even 4.5. Just these new additions, but 2.5 is tough because that's less than a field goal. But I like the Rams win out. I think the Rams win. But anything going to those props, you can Cooper Kupp over 80 yards receiving, which I think he does. Sony Michel rushing, what he gets over under sacks for Von Miller, Aaron Donald. So you can parlay some of those as well. So mybookie.ag, promo code LAFB. I'll include the link below as well when this is all done. So go Rams. Hope we enjoy it. Hit me up on Twitter, Ryan Dyrud, LAFB, like I said. All right. Let's get into this Chargers game. Let's wrap that up. You know what? First, actually, Rams fans still in here. I forgot. We're doing a giveaway. Whew. Should have done this earlier. Giveaway ends right before kickoff. So let me show you. We're doing a giveaway with our friends at Play Pickup. All you have to do, it's more betting, but it's free. You don't have to put any money down. It's a free prop bet, and you get entered to win one of our LAFB Ram shirts. So either our Andrew Whitworth licensed shirt, our Robert Woods and YG shirts. You can do a coffee mug that has Ram stuff on it. I mean, you could do anything. If you prefer just a generic LAFB logo, we can do that for you too. But it's super easy. Literally, go to LAFBnetwork.com. I'm going to show you right now. Show you exactly what to do to enter to win. So we are going to, let me pull this up for you guys. All right. So LAFBnetwork.com. Here's the site. Hopefully you know it well. Hopefully you've followed our stuff, our great articles here. Got great ones from Ryan Anderson with his winning formula. But anyway, this first Rams article, LAFB prop bet giveaway. Click on that there. Scroll down. You'll see the prop bet. Literally, more receiving yards on Monday Night Football. Cooper Kupp, DeAndre Hopkins. Obviously, you want to root for Cooper Kupp, so we're going to vote for Cooper Kupp. Boom. Enter your phone number here to claim the pick. You're going to get a text with a pin. Put the pin in. You're entered. That's it. Done. Entered to win a Fanatics. Well, I said that funny. A Fanatics gift card and a Rams LAFB swag. It's that easy. That easy. So, LAFBnetwork.com. Go to the LAFB prop bet giveaway. Vote. You don't have to vote Cooper Kupp. You can vote DeAndre Hopkins if you want, but vote for one of those. Enter your phone number to claim it, and you're in. Announce the winner hopefully tonight. I think we'll see how many we get entered and try to go through that. So, had to mention that before we move on to the Chargers. Chargers will be doing a giveaway all week leading up to the Chiefs game. So stay tuned for that. We'll have one. We'll probably post it tonight after the Rams game and then have all week to kind of promote that. The Chargers. I was at the game at SoFi yesterday with my buddy Dan Wilkenstein of Chargers Unleashed. Had a great time. We were in his seats. And then my buddy Corey Paz, former UCLA quarterback, has a suite at SoFi, right behind the goalposts in the south end zone. So we went down to his suite, hung out there. Just a blast, man. Anytime at SoFi, anytime down at Thunder Alley or the Rams tailgate or anything, just down there hanging out with LA football fans is a absolute blast. And, I absolutely love it. So it was good to hang out with people and see a good Chargers win. And this was a good Chargers win. This Chargers offense really got rolling quickly. And they played really good. Justin Herbert. I had someone ask me at the game, like, what quarterback are you taking over Herbert right now if you're starting a franchise? I mean, is there one? Last year, obviously, still unanimously would have been Patrick Mahomes. And this is not saying Patrick Mahomes isn't good anymore. But I don't think he's at that echelon where he's just head and shoulders above everybody anymore. He's had enough games this year where you can see his deficiencies. And there are not many of them. But the style offense they run, defenses have sometimes caught on. Not all the times. We've seen some, the Chargers played them pretty well. The Broncos played them pretty well. Raiders, not so much. Raiders have not played them well. But we've seen other defenses play them well, and then we've seen other defenses rattle Mahomes. And so still probably you could argue the best quarterback in the game. But it's not where it was a year ago, where it was like Mahomes and then everybody else. I don't think Herbert's that far back from him, only in year 2. The throws he can make, everything that in the past 5 seasons that Mahomes has done that everyone just drools over, especially Chris Collinsworth, just lose their mind over the throws that he makes. Well, now we're seeing Justin Herbert make those throws, and we're seeing pundits lose their minds. I mean, that throw yesterday, the Herbert Howitzer, as I'm going to call it. I tweeted out at the game, like, wow, what a bomb. And, we got people saying, I don't think bomb does it justice. And I think you're absolutely right. It's a Howitzer. The Herbie Howitzer. Trademark that. I don't know if I heard that somewhere. I feel like I made that up. Maybe I saw it somewhere, but no, I don't know. But the Herbie Howitzer. For those that don't know yet, for somehow living under a rock, it was right before the half. And I love this mentality of Staley and Joe Lombardi. Because let me set the stage for you. So you hold New York, force them to punt. They get the ball. I think it went in, if I'm not mistaken, went into the end zone. So you get the ball to the 25-yard line. So it's like, okay, we're not backed up against their end zone. You only have like 40, 50 seconds left in the half. You do have, I think, 2 timeouts. Forgive me if I'm getting some of these facts wrong, but I know it was around that. They had some timeouts, and there's about a minute left. So me and Dan are sitting there, and we're kind of talking like, okay, what do you think they do here? Like, a lot of teams would just take a knee going to the half. You're already up 17-7, mail it in. Some teams would do a running play, like a draw. If they gain 10 yards, then cool, you kind of go in that mode of, okay, we got a first down on the first play. Let's push the ball down and see if we can get a field goal. So it was like, okay, what are they going to do? And so I was like, you know what? I think they're aggressive enough. Well, they're going to at least run. They're not just going to take a knee. Like, they're not going to just waste a possession that you have a minute with timeouts. I think they'll run a draw. If they get a first down, cool, then we'll see excitement. Well, they come out slinging the ball right off the bat. Get a nice 15-yard gain on a little corner post route to the sideline. And then it's like, okay, game on. Don't even have to use a timeout because you get the guy out of bounds. And then, a couple plays later, it's the play. And they're still at like the 50-yard line, 45-yard line. Herbert gets a snap. Pressure comes in. He evades it, jumps up in the pocket, then rolls out to his right with 2 guys barreling down on him, sets his feet, throws a Howitzer 63.8 yards downfield into the open breadbasket of Jalen Guyton as he falls into the end zone. A thing of beauty. Thing of beauty. Watching that live and watching that ball just soar. I heard the call afterwards, Matt Money Smith on the radio call, and just to show you how long of a throw it was, because 63.8 air yards is no slouch of a throw. Matt Money Smith, when he's making the call, Herbert rolls out, sets his feet, has Guyton. Touchdown. It was like a 3-second pause because that's how long the ball was in the air. You just have to wait and see when it gets there if it's a catch or not. That's how great of a throw it was. And I've seen different angles now from sideline cams and end zone cams. And it was just a great exclamation point on what this offense has become. And what this offense wanted to be all year long. And what a lot of fans were too impatient to realize. Again, I'm not trying to hate on fans. I just want to say it how it is. I want to set the record straight. It's an offense that's predicated on efficiency, and that efficiency can be short, quick, smart plays, but then it opens things up for those big shots. Because everyone talks about aggression and, big time throws and, have Herbert. Why are we wasting him with these short stuff? But teams know that. I mean, there was weeks there where everyone was running too high, Tampa two safety shells, not allowing you to throw it deep. You have to watch the film or see the whole picture, and you can see there's route combinations that have guys going deep. They're just either not open or pressure was getting to Herbert before he could uncork it. So the designs were there. The process of building up this offense where it wants to be has been there. And now in the last few weeks, we're seeing it with putting up 37, 41. This is one of the highest scoring offenses in the game. Just to show how good this offense has been, which is crazy that there's fans that want Lombardi fired and are saying this offense hasn't been good. In a fantasy league, the guy who's first place in one of my leagues literally has every Chargers offensive player. Herbert, Eckler, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Jalen Guyton. I think the only one he doesn't have is his tight end. Everyone else is a Chargers player, and he's in first place. I think that shows you how good this Chargers offense has been. So yeah, it's been solid. We're seeing it really come through these last couple weeks, and now we'll get into it all week. But this huge matchup against Kansas City on Thursday Night Football, could not be more exciting, because if they win this game, they're in sole possession of first. They'll have the same record as the Chiefs, but they have a tiebreaker going 2-0 against the juggernaut. Huge game on Thursday. But this game, I thought the defense played extremely well. Let's throw out the last 8 minutes when they gave up 2 garbage time touchdowns. You had guys rotating in, getting backups in there, and then I know in the last drive they kind of put starters back in to end it, which they did with the sack fumble. But the defense, I think, is coming together too. And that's what we've been talking about. Myself, Chargers Unleashed, who's on the LA Football Network. That's what we've been talking about, is have some patience with this staff, because you have a brand new staff, first time ever head coach, first time with these players, one off season to kind of construct your roster how you can in that short amount of time. It's not all going to be golden right off the bat in both offense and defense. There's going to be kinks to work out. There's going to be learning. Like I talked about how Brandon Staley, I think what makes him so good is that he'll adapt his ways to put his players in a position to win. And there was a lot of concerns that we're not seeing that. We're not, but it's also, they're learning about each other. Your coach also has to learn about his players. You can't just sit there on your couch and say, he's not good at that, let's change everything. It's like, well, me talking as a coach, I see you every week in practice, so I know what you can do. Now it's about executing it on game days. And so with those reps, those constant reps, learning the system, feeling comfortable in your skin in the system, I know you can do it. Now, I know there's been talks about, Jerry Tillery and the weird rotation of the defensive line. And yeah, that I know can be a point that kind of casts a shadow on what Staley's done on defense. But we'll see how it plays out. I mean, this is, an 8-5 team playing well. Benjamin with find a true deep speed threat receiver, a whole new element of the offense would be unlocked. It's an interesting point, Benjamin, because Jalen Guyton is that speed receiver. And we saw it last year, and we've seen it this year. The question is how we utilize that consistently. And I think what was nice last year was having him and Tyron Johnson. Is it added an element of disguise, if you will. Because if we use Jalen Guyton as an only deep threat, so much like what the Rams faced when they had Deshaun Jackson. Like, when you're using a guy solely for that, Jalen Guyton's our speed guy. Defenses are dumb. Unless Guyton's going to be on the field for 80% of snaps, they're going to realize, okay, when this guy's on the field, he's going deep. We know he's going deep. I don't care if you're on a 4-2, 4-3, 40. If we have our safeties 30 yards off the ball and we know you're going deep, it's not going to be open ever. So there's that element of how do we get him more involved in the offense outside of just the speed, which I think we've seen. I think he's been utilized a lot more, obviously, and then it's opened things up with the speed, like just the play I talked about, the Herbie Howitzer. But you have to have that kind of that give and take with it. Otherwise, defenses are smart and know, okay, when he's on the field, we know exactly what they're doing. And there's no element of surprise there. Now, I do agree with you if they added a second speed threat, and that's what made last year pretty dynamic, is the fact they had T. Billy and him, who could both be speed threats, is that's what kept it off balance. And that's what kept defenses guessing, because they didn't know exactly who was going to do what, since they both could do it. So I'm not opposed to adding another threat, but they do have one. They do have a speed threat. It's just about how using him differently to allow him to open things up, and not saying, hey, you're going to be on the field for 15 snaps, you're running go routes every time out there. Defenses are smart. That's why the Rams ended up letting Deshaun Jackson walk, because that's all he was doing, was running go routes. Which was one of my critiques of McVay, is like, we need to use this guy differently, because the defense I was at multiple games and I'm like, when he's on the field, he's running a 9 route. The defense knows it too. If I know it, the defense knows it. Let's be real. And yeah, kind of just what I was talking about. Working with the cards he was dealt, really needs time to build. And I know there were Charger fans that kind of referred to, well, he was only with the Rams 1 year. And how were they able to build up, this top flight defense in just that 1 year? And, that's a fair argument, but you also got to remember, when he went to the Rams as a coordinator, his only job was making the defense great. That's it. Didn't have to worry about personnel. Didn't have to worry about the offense. Didn't have to worry about special teams. Didn't have to worry about the salary cap, free agency, the draft. His job was the defense. He went to McVay and said, hey, these are some guys I like in the draft. Love to add them to my team. These are some guys in free agency I love. I mean, he was maybe more involved in that, but that's essentially all I had to do is make suggestions for Les Snead and Sean McVay to do. And then he just takes those guys and makes them winners and make the number one defense. Now he's the head coach. He has to oversee everything, run the defense, run the personnel, run the draft, run free agency, make sure the offense is doing what they need to be doing because he's involved in the offense too. Make sure special teams is not the last place special teams in the game, which they're not anymore. They've improved dramatically throughout the year. So that comparison is hard to make when you're going from a coordinator or a head coach when you're just doing so much more. It's like being an editor for a newspaper and all of a sudden you're on the board. Well, when you're editor, all you were responsible for is making sure content was great, making sure there was no grammatical errors, making sure our content topics were stuff that readers want to read. Well, now you're on the board. You got to worry about sales. You got to worry about marketing. You got to worry about hiring practices. So there might be a little slip in editorial if you didn't bring in the right guy, or if it's someone new learning, like Ronaldo Hill, who's just been a cornerbacks coach, is now a first-time DC. So it was all going to take time. That's all I'm trying to say. And we're seeing it now coming to where we thought it would be beginning of the year. And I think by next year with another offseason, it's going to be a juggernaut defense. That's how good of a coach he is. So great win though. You know, good to see back-to-back big wins, big offensive performances, good defensive performances overall. Last thing I'll talk about, any other questions in here? Get them in because I'll wrap up here in just a minute. The Joey Bosa sack celly. So I was there live, and me and Dan when he did it. I'm not a big video gamer. I'll just be honest with you guys. I don't think I'm that old, but I'm just not. I've never been a big video gamer, whatever you call it. See, that's what shows. So when he did it, I was like, is that like yesterday, the king, the late great Vicente Fernandez passed away yesterday at the age of 81. So at first I'm like, was that like a tribute, like a guitar tribute kind of thing? Mariachi? Didn't know for sure. That was funny. And then, came to find out what it was. The whole Halo teabag. What a boss, man. I'm like, oh, that's great. That's great. I love too how celebrations are allowed, but simple taunting stuff is not. And not only is it fine, it's a 15-yard penalty. The discrepancy in that makes no sense. Makes no sense. So that's been always very bizarre to me. So you could do the Halo teabag, if you will, as a celebration, and it's fine. But if you make a big tackle and say a couple or stand over a guy, it's a 15-yard penalty. Like I've said before, it's the rule. It's a stupid ass rule, but it's the rule. So players need to do better at, we can complain all you want, but it is what it is. Just don't do it. But yeah, love the celebration. Seeing some of that swagger and personality that not a lot of people know Joey Bosa has. He actually has a great personality. The more I've listened to him, haven't met him personally yet. But the more you kind of see him get interviewed, because I remember a while back, probably a year ago, I was like, man, the only guy in the Chargers I probably wouldn't want to interview, like obviously I would interview anybody. I would love to. I'd be honored to. I always try to show my appreciation and what an honor it is to interview these players and coaches, because I think it's, it's been my dream. And the fact that I get to do that now is so awesome. But if there's one like, hey, this is the one you can't have, I have said I wouldn't be that bummed that was Joey Bosa. Just because he always sounded kind of like monotone and didn't really want to be interviewed and boring. But the more I've gotten to know him and heard him, quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. Just has a monotone voice, but actually seems very, very personable, has a great personality, a lot of fun. He's probably now top of my list, probably the guy I most want to interview. A, because of how great he is, but B, he just seems like a fun dude to talk to. And I'd love to talk about that celebration because I think it was great. It was a good bow on a great victory that ended with a sack fumble there on the neck that is Mike Glennon. Benjamin, let me get this last answer, and I agree. Just see Guyton is too inconsistent. He'll have 6 straight games without more than 20 yards. He had like 160 yards in the season before the Bengals game. Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point, but that's his role. That's his role, right? Find me a team that the wide receiver 3 or 4 is consistently a 50-yard a game guy. There's not many teams out there. I mean, you have your 1 and 2 receivers for a reason, which are Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. And then your wide receiver 3 and 4 are role players. I mean, the Rams, I'll just talk about the Rams. Obviously, I cover them as well. Last year, that was, Josh Reynolds. Pretty much every year that it's been Kupp and Woods, and the third guy, whether it was Reynolds or someone else in years prior, they're going to be averaging 400, 600 yards for the season. Guyton will hit that for sure. And so I totally get what you're saying. Like, it would be very nice to have that, a little more consistency on him. But I think too, it's not every day that this offense is going to have 9 different receivers with the reception like they did yesterday against the Giants. When you're missing Keenan Allen, in my opinion, a top 5 receiver in this whole game, you're forced to spread the ball around a little more and share the wealth. But the way this team operates with the tight ends, with Jared Cook and, Chicken Parm, Donald Parham, and then now using Trey McKitty as a very, very good inline blocker. I mean, he may be one of the best inline blockers in the league right now at tight end. That's how good he's been. You don't need a lot from your wide receiver 3 or 4. Because I mean, is it Guyton? Is it Josh Palmer, who truly is 3? I mean, they use him differently in different sets. So I think if you're just getting from that third receiver, and that could be a blend, we can call wide receiver 3 Josh Palmer / Jalen Guyton. If you're getting that 500 to 600 yards production in the season, that's kind of what's expected for a third guy. And I think when the year's done, Guyton himself will probably have 600 to 700, and we'll see Palmer with 300 to 400. And then, Williams and Keenan both over 1,000. I think that's something you really want to be excited about. I think that's a good thing. So obviously we all want 3 receivers over 1,000 yards. I think that'd be great. And that's, but this isn't the Kellen Winslow, Eric Coryell years, right? It just doesn't happen anymore unless they're literally going to throw the ball 50 times a game, which this offense predicates on, establishing the run and getting the running game going. And then that opens things up for the passing game. So, get your point. It's not a bad point at all. I just think that his production is probably in line right where it needs to be. Consistency in terms of, I would like to see maybe consistently getting 3 or 4 catches a game just to keep him in the game plan. But I think that's why we've seen these last few weeks him running 8-yard out routes, running jet sweeps, like not just being that deep threat because they want him more involved. That opens things up like we saw on the Herbie Howitzer. So just my thoughts. We'll see. If I ever talk to Lombardi or Staley, we'll see what they say because they know a lot more than me. But yeah, I think, we're going on an hour here. I think that'll do it for today. LAFB Live, the LA Football Show. Rams kick off here in about 3.5 hours. Chargers with a big, big win. I've got some great gets this week. Just so you guys know, for the Chargers Chiefs, my buddy Talon, who writes for Arrowhead Pride, is going to jump on with me as we preview the Chiefs and Chargers game. For this Rams and Seahawks game, I'm having, Seahawks legend and USC legend Lofa Tatupu and his co-host on his show, Brett Davern, who's done some MTV, stuff as well, are going to jump on with me to preview the Seahawks and Rams, which is a big divisional game, and we'll see how big it is after tonight's game. And yeah, Ben, I saw you say that earlier about Slater, and I want to double check if it happened, because if Slater's on the COVID list, because I turn off my notifications while doing this. And so I did not get any updates, but let's see, because that'd be a big deal going up against the Chiefs, who all of a sudden have a very strong defense and, are really going to get after the quarterback. So, and yes, you are right. Slater being placed on the COVID-19 list. As I have heard, he has been vaccinated, so there's definitely still a shot he can get off it as long as he gets 2 negative tests, because there's no quarantine day if you're vaccinated. But game's on Thursday, 3 days from now. So that's not a good sign. I mean, Keenan Allen was vaccinated reportedly on that list, and he missed yesterday's game, and he had a lot more time to get off it. He had 6 days. So I would assume, just that being said, that I think Slater will probably be out for this game, which is huge loss. And we'll get into that all week. But that's a big deal, because, I mean, not only is he your starting left tackle, but he's kind of what makes this offensive line go, him and Corey Linsley. And so now who are you playing at left tackle? I mean, you got Storm Norton on the right side. Are you putting over Brendan Hymas going to play tackle a little bit? Are you going to slide Matt Filer, just have Filer slide over and have Hymas play guard, or Selamai, or, I always say his name wrong, but who had a very bad showing the one game he started. that's going to be an interesting topic. So we'll get into that more throughout the week. But yeah, that's a big deal. Ben, that's a big deal. Him getting, don't even say Trey Pipkins. Don't even say it. But it might be. It might have to be. I mean, I don't know if there's a world where Scott Quessenberry, well, no, there is a world. We've seen him play guard. And I think Scott Quessenberry, played center last year. He's a true center. True center also was on the COVID list, but hopefully he'll be off it here very soon. Could maybe see a world where we slide Filer over and play Quessenberry guard, but they haven't done that before. Like they didn't play him at guard when Ode Ibushi went down. So I don't see that as being likely, but I just personally like that better than any thought of Trey Pipkins playing left tackle and guarding Justin Herbert's blind side. I don't think that's doing anybody any good, especially against the Kansas City Chiefs. So we'll see. We'll talk throughout the week, and I'll see who I can talk to get that happen. I'm sure we'll have updates on it as soon as tomorrow when the team's back in practice. So we will let you know. But thank you all for tuning in. Really appreciate you. Once again, on Twitter at Ryan Dyrud LAFB. Hit me up throughout the game tonight. Any Rams fan out there or Chargers fans, hit me up if you want to talk about the game. UCLA Holiday Bowl coming up here in a couple of weeks. We'll get more into that. Chip Kelly staying around as head coach. No worries there about him going back to Oregon as that's been finished. So we'll talk about that throughout the week. And I think I'll be jumping on again live tonight after the Rams game with my fellas, the Rams brothers, Dean and Nick, to recap hopefully a win. Otherwise, Nick's going to be real depressing. Let's make sure we get a win. All right. But appreciate you guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk soon. Peace.